Hello and welcome to the Prom 9. Now this is my trip to Bletchley Park that I went to on hang on, let me look at my calendar. This is a video slideshow, by the way, just for if you haven't worked it out. Which bloody Saturday was it? I think it was the 4th of Saturday, so last weekish or something. I don't know. I can't remember the date, but not that long ago. Can't get the bloody thing back up. Bloody calendar back up. There we go. No, still not. I'll just get back up there. Oh Jesus, it's not even secured. Oh God. Okay, I've almost won. There we go. I've won the battle of the calendar. Sorry about the staticky noise, but that's probably the computer fan because it's in the middle of doing computer resources tasks. So this is my trip to Bletchley, which I'm going to break up into two videos. The stuff that is really historical and the most interesting in my opinion, to the more modern vintage computers, which is more like I have in my cupboard. It'd be nice to have Colossus in my garage. Now I'm doing this through video slideshow method. Well, I'm just doing it through Windows slideshow just for it. So we went there and we first started looking round, came across some rather interesting things for decoding information like this and this machine, which I cannot tell you anything about because I didn't have time to read the plaques. Now we get to the Enigma. Everyone knows it. The Nazis used it in World War II to send decode messages to each other, so they couldn't be cracked, and they considered it uncrackable. But they were very wrong, because we had some absolute geniuses. While the Germans were the most advanced in weapons technology, we were the most advanced in defence and, well, computer technology, because we invented the bloody things. And here we have an Enigma machine, the 3-drum model, as they came with various configurations of drums. And the switchboard, which you can also see at the front with all the letters on it, was in later edition. There were models without them there. This was just to add complications. Now, absolute genius known as Alan Turing, who is a legendary man and probably the closest thing to an idol of mine, who had a very sad ending to his life, which is a real tragedy if you ask me. But one thing I'd also like to know about Alan Turing is when you look in his office, you'll notice the gas mask and cup chained in there. The cup was chained to the radiator to stop people nicking it, as he couldn't stand using other people's cups, which, to be honest, I don't blame him there. And also, the gas mask, he wore it when riding into work, not for fear of gas, but to stop the hay fever. There's a good chance he had something like Asperger's syndrome, like me, because of these little obsessive traits, which is an interesting note, and we'll get back to the main part because I'm having to splice this in here. Cracked the Enigma and designed a machine to find the configuration. Oh, here's a 4-drum model without the switchboard on the front. I can't remember the dates they brought these out consecutively, but it was in the early 30s they started adding all the drums. Because originally it was actually the Polish who cracked the Enigma, because a German pretty much betrayed Germany by handing over everything to the Enigma machine to the British and French, who were allied at the time before the French whimpered out. And, well, we just gave it to the Polish. Now, the Poland, being absolutely terrified of the Germans, had 3 absolutely brilliant men. I shall put the image of the thing on here, to work on this code. And when they couldn't crack it, they gave all their information research to us French and English. And then we come to Alan Turing, where it comes from there. Alan Turing basically invented the device called the bomb. He designed it, but other people built it. Now, this thing could hold 30. This particular one simulates 30-something Enigma machines. Each set of 3 drums, an individual Enigma machine. Because there were so many models of Enigma, there would have been millions of models of these machines, but my guess is the fact that there's lack of information on them means, well, there is a lot of stuff at Bletchley that went on there in the war that is still classified. Shame, really. Now these, the top rotors to the bottom rotors, would rotate faster and slower. You may be able to notice the blur because the machine was being demonstrated that this is a rebuild. Because they did it, the slow rotor of the Enigma to go fast and the fast rotor slow. Now what the bomb did was basically find the configuration of the Enigma machine. And then it was down to pencil and paper and the brilliant women and Alan Turing to decode it. Now, of course, I've got some images of inside because the machine is fully electromechanical and not technically a computer, but I still reckon it's worth mentioning in computer history because it's kind of what helps spark it all off. And then you can see all the fuse bays and relays and various mechanical devices and drums to pump oil to keep the machines oiled. It is an amazing machine. You also have its control panel here, the switchboard, which has got various configurations and, well, I wouldn't have a clue how to use it. And it's one display unit, which is that. It doesn't do much, the woman said. Now the magic is, of the bomb, is it would stop whenever it found a plausible configuration, and they would use an Enigma to check it. To check the machine against. This would allow them to decode it. I believe the British did build I think they did machine to do the decoding of the Enigma messages. A little typewriter type thing. Sadly, the buildings that all this were done in have fallen into deprival because this place is only funded by the people who visit here, so when you come here I respectfully ask that you give donations. This is the part where Colossus and that is held to the next part. Now, in the sorry about that. In the time, the recording stations in about 1932 started picking up this strange electrical noise that sounds a bit like that sounds not that far off a dial-up modem. Now this is a new code cracking technique, so they couldn't decode it in the exact same way. They had to find another. This was done for a rather amazing method because what they did was have these ticker things, and also at the bottom there, to record it down, and then later on they put it onto the punch tape, which you can see at the very bottom of the image. Now these are picking up live signals being sent from Germany, which I'm guessing is part of a German museum, which is to do with the code cracking and that. But they didn't go into detail exactly what the sources of signal were all about. So that's essentially what they had. Now this machine is the Tunny Machine. Well, at least it's the Tunny code. I've got a book on Colossus and I am reading through it. A lot of the people that developed it went on to produce computer systems afterwards. Now this is an far more electromechanical device that is far more complex than the Enigma and is incredibly impressive. And there's only 2 of them left. Something like that in the world. There's one of the only ones left in the world. Now, this is when we got to work on trying to crack it, because there's no good cracking a code 6 months down the line when it's screwed. So, a machine had to be built. Now, the Germans, once again, did a very stupid thing in that someone was sending a test message, and they not only resent it when someone didn't receive it properly, they even sent the way to decode it. From this, someone was able to build a complete circuit schematic of the decoding machine, and H. Flowers, I can't remember his first name, which is appalling really, who went on to design Colossus, which is the first electronic programmable digital computer. This is what every machine is today. And each Colossus was adapted for its specific task. Now sadly, at the end of the war, there were 10 machines built in total. 8 of them broken down and destroyed because and recycled basically because Churchill suspected the KGB had intercepted Bletchley. The 2 that were in parts were shipped off elsewhere, well, posted off, not shipped off, you can't ship on land, were posted off to, or transported off to, I can't remember where they were transported off to, and because we never told the Russians we cracked the Lorenz code. So the Russians started using it in the Cold War so we could spy on them with ease. But the 2 machines' whereabouts are unknown, probably due to classified information. Shame once again. But this is the first, because the fact that the US declassified information about Colossus in the 80s means that, well, that's what the MRAC came from. I mean, this is the Colossus Mark II, which came out in 1945, same year as the MRAC. But the Colossus Mark I was built in 1933. 1943, not 33, because we're in the 40s here. And, well, the fact they declassified information meant the MRAC is a direct descendant from this machine, because the Colossus Mark I was built a full 2 years before that. So every computer is a direct descendant from this machine. Now of course you've got it's all valved. There are a few electromechanical relays you could hear, but all the logic is digital electronics. Now the tape reader is punch hole tape and is optically read, as there's a light bulb and there's photocell sensors behind that. You can make out the unit at the bottom of the page. Now this thing is surprisingly small for such a complex machine, consisting of pretty much the front rack, the back rack, all caked with valves and built from telecommunications equipment that was used in telephone exchanges, so anyone seeing the parts going in there wouldn't have known the difference. Now this did pretty much what the bomb did. It found the configuration to the Lorenz code, the configuration of the machine. It also had its own teletype terminal type device, which prints out information, which would then be entered into another machine, which we'll get to in a minute. It is most remarkable construction. I was so pleased to actually touch the machine. Why isn't there... Oh god, what's going on? There we go, my computer was just pissing about there. So, is this thing still recording? Yes it is, good. I don't know how long this is going to be, but that doesn't matter, because this is a history lesson for those of you who are interested. Part 1. Now, this, I got very lucky because I got to go behind the barriers and take some shots of the machine, which is beautiful getting into that. A remarkably magnificent machine. British engineering at its best. This, Tony Sales George, was just by Colossus, and I have no clue what the hell it was about. And there's a poster of Wallace and Gromit in the background. I do love Wallace and Gromit. Now this is where we come on to the next machine, which is a similar sort of device, which would then actually, from the configurations that Colossus gave, this one would actually decode it and print it out in plain German. For those who could read German to read. I believe it's called the Tunny Machine, but I can't remember exactly what it's called. I didn't take pictures of the plaque, stupid me. It's probably in my Colossus book, but I don't know right now, so don't hold me up on that. And that's its teleprinter. Pretty much we're seeing the first terminals here, if you ask me. These look like teleprinter terminals, so potentially we've got that on the invention list as well. Now this, I do think it's part of it, but I'm not sure, but it's like tape input. The output from Colossus, basically. It's still being restored, but it's being rebuilt because these machines were dismantled after the war, sadly. It's a real shame. And that is part 1 of the tour. But on technical innovations that were made by the British in the war, it wasn't just the invention of the computer. We also came across to... well, I'll explain in the next video of more developments that we did over time. But thanks for watching, and I do hope you enjoy my next history lesson. And have a bloody good evening too. Okay, let's stop this thing recording.